Hi boys and girls, welcome to Everyday Math Lesson 11.7, Products Table. The materials that you'll need today, pencil, notebook, math journal, and your template. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go over our math boxes from the previous lesson. So if you can open up your math journal to page 279. If you're noticing that you have any mistakes, please fix those with your pencil and eraser. For our first question, we're going to subtract, and I asked that you showed your work. So we had 72 minus 35, so I can't take 2 minus 5, so I went next door, I changed my 7 to a 6, my 2 now becomes a 12. 12 minus 5 is 7, and then our 6 minus 3 is 3, giving us our answer of 37. And the unit that I chose were coins. For question 2, what is the median or the middle value for the list of numbers? So you'll notice that I first put those numbers in order from smallest to largest. So I had 23, 23, 51, 51, 67, 82. Then I was able to cross off until I had the middle number. For this one, we had two middle numbers, but since they were both the same, 51, our median is 51. For question 3, the line segment was 2 centimeters long, and then you needed to draw a line segment that was 4 centimeters longer, so your new line segment should be 6 centimeters long. For question 4, I have a pile of 16 counters, so half of 16 is 8, which is also the same thing as saying 8 sixteenths. That would also be 8 counters. For question 5, you needed to find the rule. So I can see whenever there was a dark line, I needed to subtract 6. Whenever I had that dashed line, I needed to add 3. And for our last one, number 6, write the mode for this set of numbers, the number that occurs the most often. So I can see that 17 happened 2 times. So 17 was my mode. So double check to make sure you have your page correct before moving on to the next part of the lesson. For the next part of the lesson, if you can use either your whiteboard or notebook paper to write down your answers. If the speed is too fast, pause as often as needed. So for our first question, we have 3 children and they share 9 pieces of candy equally. How many pieces does each child get? And if you want to write a number model to go along with your answer, that might be helpful. Press pause and play when you're ready to check. So for this one, I know I had a total of 9, and I'm dividing those 9 between 3 people. So 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So each child would get 3 pieces. Our second one, where there are 12 flowers, each child gets 2 flowers. How many children are there, and are there any left over? So press pause to solve and then play when you're ready to check. So for this one, I'm starting with 12 and I'm dividing 12 by 2. So I'm cutting 12 in half. So I know that there are 6 children and 6 times 2 does equal 12. So I wouldn't have anything left over. So there would be no remainder for this one. We'll try a few more like this. This next one, we have 4 children and they're sharing 9 chocolate bars equally. How many chocolate bars are there per child and how many left over? Press pause and play when you're ready to check. All right, so for this one, I'm starting with 9 and I'm dividing those 9 into 4 groups. And so I can see that 9 divided by 4 is going to equal 2. But 4 times 2 is 8. So that means that there's still going to be 1 left over. So my answer, how I would write that, 9 divided by 4 equals 2. But then there's a remainder. So I show that with saying R1. R standing for remainder 1. We have one more problem like this. So this time we have 5 children and they share 3 bags of apples equally. Each bag contains 6 apples. How many apples does each child get and how many apples are left over? Press pause and then play when you're ready to check. So for this problem, I need to do a couple things. First, I need to figure out how many apples I have. So if I have 3 bags of apples and there's 6 apples per bag, I first need to multiply 6 times 3 to figure out that I have 18 apples. Now with the 18 apples, I can divide 18 divided by 5. If you need a little more time, press pause. Now when I'm thinking 18 divided by 5, I know, so if I counted by 5s, I could think 5, 10, 15. They can go in there 3 times. So 18 divided by 5 equals 3. But notice how when I counted by 5s, I just got to 15. So I need to think how many more to go from 15 to 18. And that again would be 3. There would be 3 left over. So my answer is 3 with a remainder of 3. For the next part of the lesson, you can put your notebook or your whiteboard to the side and we'll look at pages 280 and then 281. Page 280 looks like this, our products table. You can see that they did some of them for us. They filled out the square products for us. A square product is when a number is multiplied by itself. So you can see all of these when we had 0 times 0 is 0, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, and then it keeps going until it gives us 10 times 10 equaling 100. So we're going to work through this product table together where we'll kind of start right away with our zeros. So notice how I have my 0 times my number going across up top and then also going down. Now one nice thing about zeros is whenever we're multiplying by 0, our answer is going to be 0. So could you take a moment and fill in your answers for our 0 column? Press pause and then play when you're ready to move to the next thing. So you should have filled in your answers for your 0 because again, whenever we're multiplying by 0, our answer is going to be 0. So now let's look at the next piece of our product table. And that's where we're multiplying by 1. A neat thing about multiplying by 1 is whenever I'm multiplying by 1, my answer is going to be that other number. So when I'm multiplying 1 times 4, my answer is going to be 4. When I'm multiplying 1 times 8, my answer is going to be 8. So can you take a moment to fill in your 1 times the number for both going across and going down? Press pause and play when you're ready to move to the next part. All right, so you can take a look and see how I filled in all my numbers. So my 1 times 7 is going to give me 7. 1 times 10 is 10. And also 10 times 1 is also 10. So I have my same numbers on both sides. Let's look at our next piece. So now we're looking at times 2. And a neat thing with times 2 is it's just like doubling it. So when we had 2 times 2, we can also be thinking like 2 plus 2 to give us 4. If I have 2 times 5, I'm thinking like 5 plus 5 or doubling 5. If I have 2 times 9, I'm doubling 9. So could you press pause and solve your 2's and then press play when you're ready to move on? All right, I am revealing my 2's. As you can see, I doubled all of those numbers. Let's look at 3's next. So for 3's, a little trick would be just to count by 3's. So you can see when you went back to your 3 times 1, how you have 3, and then you have 6, 9. If you can keep going and keep counting by 3's, going both across and down. So can you count by 3's to solve those? Press pause and play when you're ready to check. All right, I'm going to reveal my 3's. As I kept going, I had my 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. And that's going to be the same on both parts. You can see we keep getting a little bit smaller as we're going. We'll look at 4's next. So with 4's, I like to think double, double. So I know that 4 plus 4 is 8. Well, 8 plus 8 is 16. Or I know that if I look at 4 times 8, I know that 8 plus 8 is 16. And I know that 16 plus 16 is 32. So 4 times 8 is 32. Could you try to fill out all of your 4's, kind of thinking about double, double? Press pause and play when you're ready to check. So here are my 4s. You can see I kept doing double double as I was counting by my 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. The next thing I'm going to do is count by 5s. So you can see how I started here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Can you keep going and finish counting by 5s? Press pause and play. Here's our 5s. Your 5s should match mine. Now the next part, I kind of put a little red box around it because these are the ones that are maybe a little bit trickier facts. And so now we're taking a look at our 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. And so with our 6s, if you have some little tricks that you can kind of think about, or as we're going, if you can kind of keep adding 6, so you should already have your 6 times 5 is 30. If you can keep adding 6 to it, you should know your 10s. We know that those it's going to be our number ending in a 0, but could you try to solve your 6s? Press pause and then play when you're ready to check. All right, I'll reveal those 6s. So again, we were kind of just adding 6 each time. So we have our 36, our 42, 48, 54. We do know those 10s with our 60 and our 60. Our window's getting even smaller. We'll look at our 7s. And kind of the same thing with 7s is you're going to keep adding 7 each time. And you shouldn't have very many left. You're thinking about 7 times 8. One little trick with 7 times 8, I think 5, 6, 7, 8. So 7 times 8 is 56, a little trick for you. But can you fill out your 7s and then press play? So here's our 7s. They already gave us 49. I told you about the 56. Then 7 times 9 is 63. And we also have our 7 times 10, which is 70. We're just about done. Let's look at our 8s. And they already gave us 8 times 8. So you just need to think about 8 times 9. Can you use your strategies to figure out 8 times 9? All right, for our 8 times 9, we have our 72. And we do know our 10s for our 80. We're just about there. And actually, I think I can reveal the rest here because they gave us 9 times 9. And also we could finish up with our 10s. So double check your product table and to make sure that you have yours correct. And we'll keep working on the ones that I have in red. Those are the ones that are a little bit trickier. All right, the last thing that we'll talk about are our math boxes. This is page 281. So for question number 1, we have 5 nests with 3 eggs in each. How many eggs in all? Number 2, Maria has 9 pairs of shoes in her closet. How many shoes does she have in all? Solve for number 3. Number 4, you're counting by 1,000. Fill in the circle next to the best answer. For question number 5, you're going to draw a rectangle and make 2 sides 3 inches long, and then make the other 2 sides 2 inches long. And for our last one, number 6, you're completing the table. All right, I'll see you next time.